everybody. Just a quick reminder of who I am for those of you who haven't met me. I am Tura Gillespie. I am a provisional deacon from the Northern Illinois Conference, but I am currently residing just outside DC. And I am the current chair of the United Methodist Ecumenical and Interfaith Trainings for the United States. So you would run into me if you came to the National Workshop on Christian Unity or other in-person trainings in the last few years. But right now, because we can't be together, we decided to try to be together in this way. So I would love it if you all would pray with me. Merciful Creator and Giver of all, help us remember to thank you every day for the gifts you give us. Help us to have grateful hearts, hearts that swell with gratitude every time we think of you. Thank you, God. Amen. And those of you who use the Moravian daily texts, you will think that's familiar because that was today's prayer. I thought it was wonderfully appropriate because in this time, reminds me a little of the Philippians verse as well, that we need to be thinking on the positive things, which seems a little bit hard if we're watching the news cycle, etc. at the moment. So in a mind of introduction, just to make sure we all know who each other is, I thought I would ask us if we could say your name, what conference you're from, and one thing you're grateful for today. And if you want to just unmute yourself, that's great. And if we don't have people taking turns, I will feel free to call on you, so you've been warned.
My name is Jean Hawxhurst. I'm one of the ecumenical staff officers for the Council of Bishops of the United Methodist Church, with the responsibility for trainings and multilateral and group ecumenism and scholarships and grants. And so that's who I am today. I'm grateful for my husband, who turned 64 yesterday. He's a bit older than me, and so I played the song for him from the Beatles, you know, "Will You Still Love Me When I'm 64?" And so I was grateful for the joy of that.
I can go next. My name's Rock Freema, and I'm joining you from the Desert Southwest Annual Conference and live in Phoenix, Arizona. And today I am grateful for those 15-minute times between Zoom meetings to just breathe.
Hello, I am Vijay Kumar from Greater New Jersey Annual Conference. I live in New Jersey, however. I am grateful that I am alive today, in spite of this challenging problem the globe is facing, not only United States of America, that COVID virus, but I'm thankful to God that everyone who I know are alive today by God's grace.
I'm Ed Martin. I'm from Greater New Jersey also. I consider myself VJ's sidekick. And I'm grateful for Jean and Tura and their staff and all the people that make this operation run smoothly.
I'm Gil Hankey, and I'm the General Secretary of the General Commission on United Methodist Men. Live in Nashville. I'm a lay member of the Tennessee Conference, and I am grateful, happy, overjoyed today that I can tell you that after several years of working, we actually put together a men's meeting that included United Methodist Men, AME Zion, and CME folks, and we are planning additional work together as we move forward. That's cool. It's taken a long time.
I'm Renee Ford, and my husband Bob is also in the room with me, and we're ordained elders and members of the Bishops' Committee at in the Susquehanna Conference in Pennsylvania. Oh, and we're grateful. What are we grateful for, Bob?
Zoom.
He says half sincerely and half maybe not, because we do a lot of Zooming these days. But yes, it is good that we have this technology, we have this way of being connected, and hopefully it can help strengthen our connection moving forward.
So
I'll go next. Or okay, did I step on somebody? They can
no,
go.
it's okay. Go right ahead, French.
Okay, I'm French Ball. I'm a retired elder in the East Ohio Conference, currently living in Nashville. My ecumenical credential is that I was a representative of our denomination to the National Council of Churches for many years, and of the East Ohio Conference to the Ohio Council of Churches, where I chaired the Faith and Order Commission. I guess I'm grateful to be retired in these difficult times.
So I'm Di Morgan. I am a member of the Western Pennsylvania Annual Conference, but I happen to be in Bob and Renee's territory. I am currently in my office as the interim executive director of the Pennsylvania Council of Churches, which is in the middle of the state. The Pennsylvania Council of Churches was created in 1911, fairly early on in the modern ecumenical movement. It was the first state church council and acted as the model for many, many that followed later. So I'm delighted to be able to be here with you. And I am thankful for the technology that is able to bring us together.
My name is Ming Lozano. I'm currently working as the Executive Secretary of the Davao Episcopal area under Bishop Rodolfo I. And I am a member of the East Mindanao Philippines Annual Conference. Currently, I'm grateful for having finished or been able to conquer 4 annual conferences via virtual conference, a regular one. And we only have 1 left, which is scheduled on Friday and Saturday. So that's it. Thank you.
I'm Nick. I am in the Tennessee Conference. I'm moving from Charlotte, Tennessee to Nashville. So now there's 3 of us. We always take over. And today I am grateful for a healthy transition from one church to another. So rather than having all that last minute stuff, I enjoyed tacos yesterday and it was lovely.
Hello, everyone. My name is Akiko Miyake Stoner. I'm serving as an elder in the Northern California Nevada Conference and the CUIR chair over here. Sorry, I was a little late. I wasn't sure if the gratitude was supposed to be for something church-wise, anything. Well, I've been really grateful that we recently put up a hummingbird feeder in the backyard, and it took them a couple of days to find it, but now when I was eating breakfast, there were like 4 different hummingbirds that came, and their little personalities are so cute. Like some of them are a little hesitant and they like flap, but they don't sit down. And then other ones are more comfortable and they sit down and take their time and sip. So that's brought me a lot of joy. I'm really grateful for that. And glad to be with you all. Thank you.
My name is Michael Boland. I'm the CUIR chair for the Arkansas Conference, and I'm thankful that in 2 weeks I'll be resume in-person worship through multiple services.
I am realizing I did not say what I am grateful for, but to piggyback on VJ's, I have a little calendar that my grandmother used to write one little inspirational thing every month and keep it with a little paper clip on her calendar. And my mom found those a couple years ago and copied them for me and my sister. And July's is a quote from my grandfather, who was a United Methodist minister, which was, "Every day that you wake up is a good day." And so I just wanted to bring that, and I'm really grateful that all of you showed up today too.
Right, and I want to add that I'm grateful for what you're grateful for. Those were really wonderful statements. Akiko, I loved yours. Gil, and tacos. I mean, my goodness, it's really, I love doing that introduction, Tura. Thanks. Why are we doing this? So we're doing it because the Council of Bishops now has responsibility for ecumenical and interreligious ministries, and that's a shift. From it being a commission, it now belongs to the bishops, and their staff and the chair of UMEIT in the United States got together, and that would be Tura, who at least on my screen is right there for me. And we decided that it might be a really good thing for the CUIR chairs all over the world to actually get together and meet each other and learn from each other and know each other and share ideas. The idea came from us, but also from you all who wanted to begin to get together and talk and share. So that's how the idea started. The result is this new UMEIT Zoom that joins the 5 other UMEITs that the bishops offer. And the idea is that we're going to meet together 6 times a year. 3 times will be casual like this, where we're going to offer a question. Tura is going to offer a question, and we're just going to chat about that question for within an hour, as long as you'd like. So that's 3 times a year. And then the other 3 times UMEIT Zoom will be an actual teaching time. Like last month when we had UMEIT Zoom, we talked about the basics of the history and the theology of ecumenism in the United Methodist Church. So next month will be a teaching time. This time is an open conversation time. But before we actually get to that open conversation, I want to just catch you all up on a few things that we have learned from the Council of Bishops calendar, other calendars. So I just shared my screen with you. Want you to see those dates. Most everything, you don't see them yet?
We're seeing the
No.
post attendee. Maybe it's a screen behind that screen, possibly. I think if you're sharing your desktop, so maybe if you close that window.
Do you see an alpaca now?
No.
Okay, let me stop sharing. And not sure why that didn't work. I will try that again and make sure I'm sharing screen 2, which is that screen. How is that?
It's loading. Yep, that's it. We got it.
Okay. Thank you. So I want to see these dates. So everything travel-wise, gathering-wise for ecumenical and interreligious ministries has been canceled for the rest of this year, pretty much. Those are the things that I know about for next year. So just a few announcements before we get started. There is a new ecumenical officer starting September 1. Her name is Bishop Sally Dick, and she will be the Bishop of Northern Illinois and our ecumenical officer from September through December. And then she will just be our ecumenical officer. She will retire from the other position. So that's an information. Bishop Watson, who has been our ecumenical officer, will complete his 4-year term at the end of August. Our next time together that I mentioned before is going to be September 22nd, and wanted to make sure you knew about that. It is a teaching time, and it will be a discussion, and my colleague Kyle will be on that one, and it'll be about the Episcopal United Methodist dialogue and where we are in terms of full communion and what you all might be able to do to help with the full communion proposal. Tom Ferguson from the Episcopal Church will also be joining us. So the next time that we're going to do this kind of casual chatting time will be November 17th of this year. But for next year, what you see is what we have on the screen. January 18 to 25 is the Week of Prayer for Christian Unity in Northern Hemisphere. If you want to find out more information about that, you can go to www.geii.org. And if it's not org, it's com, but it's GEII, Graymore Ecumenical Institute I. Then April 12 through 15 will be the National Workshop on Christian Unity, and that's going to be in California this coming year. April 19 to 20 is Ecumenical Advocacy Days in Washington, D.C. It depends on the dates if you're going early for the Council of Bishops meetings or not, but August 27, 29 to September 7 or 10 is General Conference, but you all already know. September 8th through 16th is the newly scheduled World Council of Churches Assembly. The World Methodist Conference will also be scheduled, but that may possibly be moved to 2022, and we'll let you know about that. And then the Christian Churches Together Annual Forum will be October 4 through 8. So those are the announcements I had. Just wanted to make sure you have all that information for you and for your annual conferences. So I'm going to mute myself now, and Tura is going to lead us in a time of just chatting.
So in that same idea of gratitude and of trying to think on the positive things, we wanted to bring the question before you all. Clearly things have not gone the way they're planned for the last several months, but does anybody have some success stories of the ability to do ecumenical or interreligious work, even amongst all of the other things that are going on in the world right now?
I have the pleasure of shepherding a group of people, of men who have my job in other denominations. And they have been invited to this Saturday's Day of Prayer, which the Virginia is the Southeast jurisdiction is doing. And this is the third online Zoom prayer meeting that we've had that has been have welcomed people from other denominations as well. And the first one was in the Northeast, and we had about 150 on that. And the Western jurisdiction did one, and it was about 80. And these are 3-hour meetings, and people stay for the whole thing, which is pretty remarkable. And then this one, this Saturday, is done by the Southeast jurisdiction, and there's some real interest in other denominations that have men's ministry of how did we pull this off and how it's going. And so I'm excited about it, and it opens a whole lot of doors to things that we can do better together. And it's interesting, the group that that have my job in other denominations. We've never had an argument. I've been doing this for 10 or 12 years. We've laughed at each other, but we've never had an argument because we're there centered on making disciples of Jesus Christ. And it's been really interesting and wonderful and a joy.
I have Vijay Kumar here. I have attended a Zoom meeting again with the people of the other faiths and all the Christian denominations around here, especially in Rutgers University. The theme of these meetings are healing circle. Healing circle in the point of bringing peace in between the races. And it was really meaningful, and we have participated from our town, as well as around here, the New Jersey. There were several people. It was restricted, attendance was restricted to 25, but a lot of people wanted to come, but we could not accommodate them. But it was a very good, they were really good meetings. And I hope that the people who have attended those meetings are really benefited, and they will bring peace around them.
So I'm 42, but that is, no, actually I'm 43 now, but apparently that's still young adult age, as many of you know, in the church. And I've coordinated the last 3 years for our statewide Week of Prayer for Christian Unity celebration. And I've wanted to build that into focusing on unity at other times of the year, you know, instead of just that focus for a week in January. So this new reality that we find ourselves living in changed a lot of those plans. And I suppose I can work with technology. So I went ahead and moved in the direction of Zoom, the webinar version of Zoom, and I learned that. And we partnered with Arizona Interfaith Power and Light this last month. And with Pope Francis's call with Laudato Si, the encyclical for the care of the environment or care for the world, the Vatican invited all of us to spend some time to reflect on that. So partnering with AZIPL, we did a webinar and we were right at 100 participants. And I was really excited about that. And what technology is really kind of promising is that we don't have to focus just on Arizona anymore. You know, that the world really is a larger place, and technology enables us to, like we're experiencing today, to include many voices. So I would say that's a really wonderful thing. And, you know, that continues to give, because now that video is being edited and we'll be able to then share that, you know, with even a larger audience and archive that so others can enjoy it too.
We have a great group of, in State College, our interfaith and ecumenical leaders group meets every month. And it's been really helpful. We're mostly Christian pastors, but we have Baha'i and we have a rabbi from our Reform congregation here who are part of the group. And just to be able to connect and talk about how we're navigating these new waters, what we're doing, so we can at least strategize and share, you know, what, so that we can kind of be on the same page and help one another through this. It's been very valuable.
Well, here in Fresno, our Interfaith Alliance has had a tradition for many years before I got here to do like a National Day of Prayer event, but an Interfaith Day of Prayer event, kind of as a alternative that's more inclusive for other religions in May, I think. And so we usually have a in-person event, but we just had a bunch of videos of faith leaders talking about prayer and unity, especially in this time, and that was compiled. I thought that was really a powerful way to remember our connections. And then we're getting ramped up to do a Hiroshima Nagasaki commemoration event, 75 years anniversary this year. So it'll be a Buddhist Christian event at Fresno State. And so we're working, I'm folding cranes right now. We're working hard to get a bunch of cranes together, and we're gonna do some fasting, interfaith fasting together. This will be a new thing for our community, so I'm excited about that. And then our CUIR usually meets on Zoom in normal times, but we've met I guess a couple times since the pandemic. And one of our members said that his congregation teamed up with one of the local synagogues with whom they have a relationship, and they did some just like training on staying safe and safety precautions. So that's kind of what's going on over here.
I haven't been in charge of many things, but being able, I don't know if it's a human movement toward desiring a voyeuristic kind of approach to new things, to be able to just watch them before you participate or see what other people are doing. But I certainly have appreciated things like Interfaith Paths to Peace, which is in Louisville, now has all of their things online. And so even though I am not in Kentucky, I can participate, and those types of things have been really life-giving to me. And I would highly recommend, if you're not on IPP's mailing list, go for it. They've got something almost every day.
I'm curious, and this just popped into my head, if anybody has invited a pastor from another faith communion to preach at a Sunday morning service. And that, Rock, I'm thinking of you asking about that, because all of our conversations seem to be having to do with the web right now. It is an easy way to get congregations engaged. And so I'm wondering if anyone has tried that.
It's a good idea, Jean. I'm thinking of doing that now.
The pastor of our small church here in outside of Nashville was going to take 2 weeks of vacation, and we're doing video, stuff for Sunday morning. And so he had Bishop Mike Curry. He found 2 sermons of his, and it was delightful. The church really liked it, and it was interesting because the first one was the homily that he gave at the royal wedding, and you could just see the people didn't respond. I mean, he's used to a response, and it was sort of like one of these late night comedians who's trying to do their stuff without an audience. It's really hard. And then the other was more of an after dinner sermon at some event. And I mean, the place was going just really responsive. But in both cases, there were strong messages and absolutely fit really well with what our small church is doing. So, but I do think it's a neat idea, and one that would be really beneficial for our church, I know, to experience.
So I sometimes come across as ecumenically confused because I grew up in a little federated church between the UCC and the United Methodist, and actually am UCC and currently serving a UCC congregation, but still involved with a Methodist conference out here. And but because of that, sometimes my folks are confused as well, because what I do is I share, this is a wonderful opportunity. I mean, for all of the tragedy portion of this, it's actually, it's also a very wonderful, exciting time in history in terms of the technology. As Jean mentioned, I have some vacation planned and plan to include voices from other denominations. And then on a regular basis, I've had an opportunity to share other sermons with my congregation, none of which are UCC. And so one of the things that my folks generally tell me is this is the first time that they ever remember having an opportunity to hear so many other denominational voices. They've never had that opportunity before. And then, of course, when I served a United Methodist appointment, those two appointments, I would do the same thing. You know, share other voices with them and consistently hear that piece of, I can't believe how much alike we are. You know, so I think that this is just a wonderful, kind of a wonderful time in history to be able to break down so many walls, so many of those divisions.
Are there other ideas like sharing sermons that you can come up with? And I think Tura's asking about local congregation level, but also annual conference level. I don't know, Ming, if there's anything interesting going on in Davao.
When it comes to interfaith gatherings, we are really restrained from gathering. And even if we wanted to have this kind of technology, I don't think it's available for other churches. We have limited access to internet connection. If you were, because the Philippines consists of 7,000 islands, the islands would give us a restriction. Even the previous one, the Visayas, we had difficulty. We have a delay of how many times in the virtual conference. We have the say I, if you intend to say yes, I. You hear that? So we have difficulty, but what we do, when it comes to interfaith gatherings, we really have to have a physical one, because basically in Davao City, a very strengthened inter-ecumenical relationship with churches there during the January, a week of prayer, and we usually do churches host the prayer rally. So every day we do that. So Monday would be United Methodist Church. The second day would be Wesleyan. The third day would be a Roman Catholic Church. And then we gather for around 2 to 3 hours prayer for the whole week. And we did that with the support of the local government for the last probably 30 years already. That was initiated by the current president, actually, because he used to be our mayor in the city. So if you have that kind of a leader in the government, I think it's good. And he even, because of that influence in the ecumenism in the Philippines, right now he already asked the Congress to have a Bible month on a national basis, something like that. And he's not even considered something like let's say a religious man. Because his family, he even have daughter-in-law who is a Muslim. He believes in the Islam, and then he is basically a Roman Catholic, but his common law wife is a Baptist, something like that. So his involvement with the different beliefs, he came into Davao City became a recipient of a good ecumenical relation. So, but right now, gatherings really is very, very limited, because we are only allowed 10% of the capacity of the church, and we cannot really optimize this kind of technology. And probably the ecumenical group that they are trying to have this kind of, but it's only limited to how many. I mean, you usually gather in one church for first day of the daily week, the whole week of prayer, about 200 to 300. So how can we accommodate that in technology like this? But we're hoping that this will end. And I think a lot of followers of that interfaith gathering wishes to go back in such 1 week of prayer, even if it's not January.
It's rough when technology doesn't work well. And so, yeah, that is rough. So I wonder if, like have the churches in the Council of Churches committed to pray for each other during worship services? Are there letters being shared? I mean, because there's other things that could be done beyond or beside technology.
Well, those particular things that you named are not something that we are doing. However, now that you've said it, maybe it will be something that we will do.
Well, what's going on in the council?
Well, essentially, an ecumenical environment is the environment in which I swim. And we really have 4 arms. We have our own building, and within that building, we have several judicatory offices and many nonprofit groups, some of a religious nature and some not necessarily of a religious nature. So, you know, I am constantly in contact just by proximity of all different denominations. And we also coordinate some ministries. So we have 2 ministries to migrant workers and immigrants. You might think, what, Pennsylvania? But South Central and Southeastern Pennsylvania are large fruit producing areas. And so we have ministry to migrants. We also have a truck stop ministry. And we are the only state council of churches that sponsors chaplains within the state parks. And this is a tremendous ecumenical ministry, and many, many different churches participate both in terms of personnel and in terms of financial support. And then we also do political advocacy. And the larger denominations that are more centrally structured do their own political advocacy, the Roman Catholics, the Lutherans, and the United Methodists. But we all work together as well. And then the council is able to act in that capacity for many smaller denominations who don't have their own political advocacy. And since we're in the state capital, and we're dealing with Pennsylvania, we do advocacy within the capital on issues that are a concern for the church. And again, you know, it's really, it's awesome to stand side by side with representatives from many different faith traditions on political issues. And then lastly, we do have some just ecumenically based programs, which are educational, informational, that kind of thing. So that's what we do in the Pennsylvania Council of Churches. And it is a very stimulating environment.
Can I pop back in? So I was going to say, talking about different videos to use, I did have an opportunity. I noticed that the Board of Discipleship put out a video of a mass choir back during Pentecost. And it said free for churches to use on Sundays. So I said, well, I can do that. So I dropped it in, and my people were very disappointed that that didn't come from the United Church of Christ, but they loved it. And that stimulated them to say, well, how can we make this happen in our own denomination? And I said, well, why would we make that happen? Why not do that with them? You know, why not do a collaborative and ecumenical choir? That would be awesome. So that's really instigated my choir to, we had an opportunity to do a Christian unity service with just churches kind of in our neighborhood. And that kind of prodded my choir director to say, well, how can we do a virtual service with these churches that we already do things and sing with throughout the year? So now just that one video has instigated my folks to do other things, which I'm really excited about.
Anybody else want to share anything before we switch gears a little bit?
Well,
Okay.
I would just add, some of you know that down here in South Jersey, I'm a member of the Jewish Christian Muslim Dialogue of Southern New Jersey. And we've been kind of quiet since January. But we have been talking. We haven't had a meeting yet. I don't know if everybody on that group is savvy enough to use technology. They make excuses, but we are really interested in doing something around the racial justice issue and how it affects the three faith communities in Southern New Jersey. And so that's our. I think that's going to be our main emphasis once we get off the dime and get on the Zoom and start meeting together. But that could include education, that could include advocacy, letter writing, that kind of thing. So that one particular localized effort is starting to come to fruition. I certainly hope and pray.
And I know at one time, the National Council of Churches of Christ in the United States was collecting racial justice teaching toolkits and curricula to share, which would be usable around the world, of course, but with the issues in the country in which I live right now, that's, yeah. So you might ask the National Council of Churches in the US if they have got a list together.
Well,
if not,
actually,
our General Commission.
And actually, yesterday I sat in on a pilot program. The Capital District, which is the next district up from my district, has a cohort group that's working on social justice issues. And we were reviewing the Shalom document that was put out a few years ago by the UMC. And I think it's quite useful that I might be able to introduce some of that to the JCM or some of the principles, because you know, being a faith group, there's really nothing in that document that I would think would be objectionable to anyone. And the concepts, it's about love, it's about mobilization, it's about organizing, it's about health. So there's all kinds of avenues to approach this from, but that's a really good document.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's great. And thank you to everybody for sharing what you shared. We hope that this will become a group where you can share with each other and get and receive ideas from each other about what you can do in your local context. That's what we hope you all will become for each other, is a place to share and learn. So keep doing that and email each other and talk to each other. If you have questions about anything that somebody shared and you want to hear more about, Tura and I can connect you. We want to give a few minutes before it's time to finish this Zoom, just to ask if there are any questions out there that you would like to know about what's going on, about ecumenical ministry, interministry, burning questions. We put aside a few minutes for that to happen. And while you're thinking of your questions, want to add also that probably around August, the Council of Bishops will be putting out invitations to apply for local initiative grants. And so those local initiative grants are awarded every year. There are 3 that are awarded for $1,000 US each. And those are for annual conference groups anywhere in the connection who are putting together and doing ecumenical or interreligious ministries. So watch for those to be posted on the Council of Bishops Facebook page and also website in the next month or so, the application for those. So that's my little advertisement. Do you have questions about anything that's going on?
I was curious, the meeting, was it 2 months ago now? The last meeting, if it was recorded, and if so, if that's something that could be reviewed. No? Okay.
Yeah, well, no, and it's my computer that I'm getting a new computer anytime now, but my computer is old. And so if there are too many people on a Zoom call, it tends to overheat, which is why Tura is the co-host now in case I die. So no, I'm afraid it wasn't. However, I can tell you a very exciting piece of news with the same information is that the Council of Bishops has a summer intern named Erin Sears, and she is updating and making more local congregation friendly the curriculum entitled One in the Spirit, that is a 6-session curriculum to teach local congregations or small groups about what Christian unity really means, scripturally, biblically, theologically. And she is putting that together with video, and it's going to be on the platform called Teachable, which will be connected to the Council of Bishops website as well. It'll be in English, but also available for anybody to use around the world from the Bishop's website. So that is coming. It should be up and running by September sometime.
If I may, I have a question. The last time we met, I mentioned the existence of, for many years, the UMEIT Facebook group. And I got 0 responses from you all. So I'm wondering if that is something that we might as well junk and throw it away, or if we're interested in doing it.
I looked for it, French, but I couldn't find it.
Just look up UMEIT under groups on Facebook. I mean, it literally is just UMEIT.
I was already a member of it, so there wasn't any reason for me to act upon it.
Me too.
Yeah, and Tura's a member. But, you know, I very little response then, let's put it that way. And, you know, since the idea was that we could use that as a discussion forum, and, you know, if it's not working, it's not working. But, you know, if you all want to do it, I'm just sort of reminding you that it's out there.
Even as a member of the group, I just typed it into Facebook and it does not come up directly under groups. So I don't know if we're for some reason some kind of private or
well, it's definitely
we can look at it later.
It's private in the sense that you have to be admitted, but anybody can search for it. But I'll check and you and I can talk about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say Facebook has been doing some weird stuff with the groups features lately too. So
yeah. But I guess what I wanted to get a sense of from you all is if you are interested in actually doing it.
It only shows 66 members.
Yeah, I know, but it showed 66 members ever since the early 2000s.
Well, in French, if you could find, do the research and find out exactly how to find that group, because it does just pop up for me. But if you would send me an email with that information, I can get it out to people, like how to sign up for it.
Yeah, another possibility is that I can invite you. There are two administrators of the group. I'm one, and I forget the name of the other guy because he's not a member anymore. But Tura, you could be an administrator. And then we could actually send invitations out to people. I just wanted to know if there was interest in doing any of that with it. Okay, we'll work on it, Tura, you and I, and Jean, and we'll get it together.
I was going to pose the question if anyone, so the next time we meet will be about our ecumenical agreements coming forward with the Episcopal Church. If anybody has any burning questions they want to make sure get answered in that, to either, if it's a short question, toss it out now, but you can email me or Jean and we'll make sure that it gets answered next time.
Or if there are topics for discussion that you would like to have us do in these the every other time teaching times, is there anything in particular about which you want to learn?
Yeah, maybe on that subject, Jean, referencing back to our last meeting, there was a little bit of a discussion of the use of the terms interfaith and interreligious. And you made a comment, Jean, that I thought was just, it was fascinating. I had never thought of it. That the term interfaith makes an assumption, and the definition of what we mean when we say faith, I found to be fascinating, especially as we apply it to other world religions, because we tend to know, we Christians, what we're talking about when we say faith, but other religions don't always see things the way that we are thinking. And when we use that expression, I'd really like to sort of unpack that and play with that more. I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be fun. So I'll put that on my list. Thanks, Di.
I got 2 Facebook requests while we're sitting here, so we've got 2 new members now.
Woohoo!
Hey.
So will somebody be using Facebook, the Facebook group, to create events to remind us to come to these sessions? Because I think there's sort of usually a social network, a hub and spoke pattern, so if somebody's constantly populating the group, then that will draw us back there and that sort of thing.
That's the idea.
Nice.
So we'll trust in
Go
French.
ahead.
I was just going to say, we'll trust that Tura and French will do that. I do want to mention that there are a couple other UMEIT groups out there, but they're not just named UMEIT. They're named UMEIT Young Adult Network or UMEIT YAN or something like that. So just go for the plain UMEIT.
Yeah, and it popped right up when I searched for it just now.
And as for topics, I think, we talked some, let's see, was it Nick? Talked about, or maybe it was Rock, I don't know. One of you talked about doing some work on racial justice and relations, and maybe that would be a timely conversation to explore. Maybe we could do some things with synchronous like this, as well as some asynchronous components for people to access resources and have dialogue.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea because in the ecumenical organizations right now, that is the topic of discussion. And actually, as Di was talking, it struck me that there is a parallel between white privilege and Christian privilege in the United States. And you know, the use of the term faith by Christians might reveal a bit of our Christian privilege in this country. Anyway, I just found that an interesting connection in my little brain. But yes, I think that's a good idea, Renee.